Hey, what's up guys? So the Valentine V1 Gen2 just got a new firmware update. It's version 4.1039, and this latest update is primarily designed to help with photo radar detection and add some additional muting capabilities for different apps. And so in this video, let's go ahead and run through all the new changes and improvements here with this latest update. Now, as usual, Valentine has done a nice job with giving us a full set of release notes that go over all the changes and improvements here in this latest update. And to start things off, the first improvement here is that they've now added the ability for the V1 Gen2 to detect the Gatso RT4 photo radar system. Now, it looks like in the process of developing this, they found that there's certain Audi and Porsche vehicles that can actually trigger Gatso falses on your V1, similar to how we see with some other detectors that can also detect various photo radar systems. And so for this reason, they actually now recommend that you run the photo verifier or their filtering option for photo radar detection, specifically if you encounter any 2013 to 2016 Audis or 2015 to 2019 Porsche Macans or Cayennes. And this applies both to whether you're driving and you encounter some of those other cars nearby, or you happen to drive one of those vehicles yourself. And speaking of filtering options, they've also added a new filter here. It's called the Photo Radar Intersection Management Filter. Bit of a mouthful, but the idea is now you have the ability to filter out some of the false alerts that you'll get at intersections where they're also using some of this radar, but they're not using it for speed enforcement. Instead, they're using it just for traffic management or even at railroad crossings. Now, they don't actually have a way to tell if this radar is hooked up to like a speed camera or not, because it looks like it's the same radar transmissions either way. And so in that case, if your detector has been alerting to the Drive Safe 3D, the Drive Safe 3D HD, or the Ekin photo radar, you can now enable the intersection management filter, and it's still going to be detecting these signals, but it's basically going to be muting them altogether. Now, you could always just turn off radar detection for those three different types of radar, but if you do that, you're still going to be getting K-band alerts. And so what this filter does instead is it's going to enable detection of those three different systems, but then otherwise silence the detector for you and cut those alerts out. Now, Valentine did point out that you may still get an initial blip of radar, especially for strong signals before the filter actually kicks in. But this is a way to kind of quiet the detector down in some of the intersections that do use some of this photo radar, but it's not actually using it hooked up to a camera to do speed enforcement. Next, they've also expanded their coverage for the Ekin or Ekin, not sure how to pronounce it, as well as the Redflex. Starting off here first with the Redflex NK7, they found in Arizona that their frequency range that they were sweeping for was a little bit too narrow, and they found that on the lower end, they might actually cut off detection of some of these NK7s, particularly when the frequency range started to drift low. And so with this update, they basically just kind of like widen the frequency range that they're scanning for so it can scan a little bit lower to ensure that it can reliably still alert to these NK7s. Next, they've also added the ability to detect the Ultimate Pro and the Red Speed photo radar cams. Got to use my phone here because some of these names are hard to remember. But it's actually still going to be alerting to them as the Ekin system. Ekin, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it can now detect these and alert to it as Ekin. And then lastly, there's also been changes to their Bluetooth communication protocol that apps can use to connect to the V1, primarily to add some additional muting controls here with the V1. The first change is the fact that apps can now tell the difference between when the detector has been muted due to one of the logic mutings, like logic mode can mute weaker signals, as well as auto mute, which can trigger a mute after a couple seconds. And so now the detector can tell the app why it's being muted, and then the app can actually override the auto mute, for example, and unmute the detector if necessary. And then the ESP protocol has also added support for the Gatso now, so the detector can tell the app that it's detecting the Gatso as opposed to one of the other photo radar systems. And so fundamentally, as you can tell, this is primarily a photo radar update. They've added detection of several new photo radar systems, and then also updated some of the filtering options to help quiet down some of the false alerts that you'll get from detecting some of these photo radar systems, and then also given app developers a little bit more control on unmuting the detector now that the apps know exactly why the detector is being muted as well. And so in order to get this update, you do need to go and update V1 Connection, the free app that Valentine provides for both Android and iOS. And then once you update both the detector and the app, all these new settings will show up in the app so that you can configure the detector the way that you want. I've also gone ahead and updated my settings guide over on my website that explains a lot of these new features, and I also have a dedicated article that you can check out that explains the new features as well, and all that stuff that you need as far as different apps, setup guides, and explainer articles, all that kind of stuff, as always, will be linked down in the description below. Same thing with the full discussion that we're having over on the forums too, if you'd like to check it out and join in the discussion, see the test results that people are sharing, etc. And with that said, That's a look here at this latest update from Valentine. Thanks so much for watching. Hope you're all doing great, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.